Hey yo, it's Shanti. Welcome to the Shanti Show. I'm here with.
My name's Ken Magee, candidate for sheriff for Washtenaw County. Good to see you, Ashanti. Good to see you, Mariel.
Don't laugh, nigga. Don't laugh,
I
nigga.
promise you, I kept it in. I kept it in well. First of all, I'll relate to you in the often sense, in the straight up sense. My middle name is Kenyatta. My father's name is also Kenyatta. They call him Ken. So I respect Ken. I see Ken. I think the McGee is where I'm growing. But also it's a.
He said you seem like an artificial intelligent guy.
I heard it. I'm like, wow, that's like a name.
Artificial intelligence? Well, I can assure you my intelligence isn't artificial, but you can tell your dad that the name Ken, if you go back and look at the history of names, you can tell your dad that apparently I believe the name Ken or Kenneth means handsome. So you can tell your dad he's a good looking dude. All right?
Precisely.
Who gave you a name out of curiosity?
My dad's name was Kenneth.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And my middle name was Wendell, and that was my mother's middle name. And McGee was my dad's name, Kenneth Wendell McGee.
Shout out Pop, shout out Lineage. You were talking to us about. Who you talking to us about like. First of all, you talking about like. Okay, hold on.
All right, you on the direction. Can I say something?
Yeah, say something.
All right, look. So basically, I ain't gonna lie. So we was talking about before. I didn't record it. I don't know. I should have recorded it.
You know, like you do like 23andMe. You know, like with like that.
I definitely know 23andMe.
What does it mean? What does like McGee mean?
Yeah, where you from?
Oh, it's Scotch Irish. Scotch Irish.
So,
Yeah. Got a great story about 23andMe. My mother found her birth parents. My mother was adopted.
Oh,
My wife gave me a 23andMe kit, and I did the testing to find out my lineage and all that. And then you go into some database and it says possible relatives. I gave it to my brother's daughter, my niece. She did the research, found my mother's biological brother. And my mother was 92 years old, and she finally met her biological brother, and she learned she had a different family. And that was 4 months before she died. It was pretty cool. So yeah, we did the 23andMe, and we have a serious success story there.
That's
So,
dope.
yeah,
That's
it
beautiful.
was-
We often think like, especially like referring to like lineage, and then we like Black people, Campbell's now like the name, but also and maybe I don't know. That's why I got to do the 23andMe.
Gotcha. No, that's cool. I definitely recommend you do it. By the way, during the interview, do you want me to look at you here or look at the camera?
You can look at the camera. You talking to the people, talking to the
Okay,
people. Camera.
all right.
Talk to it doesn't matter. Really, I
Gotcha.
prefer the camera. To be honest with you.
Gotcha.
But I ain't gonna lie. So we was talking before about just the candidacy and stuff like that. I just want to let you know this platform we use it to tell stories, and then I really want to just talk to all the politicians because I feel like I really want to interview people like you just because African American people we don't know too much about anything if it ain't the president, and I feel like a lot of people they get like deteriorated in voting just because the president they think up high here, but they don't think like the people like you, Alicia, like the other people, the commissioners and stuff like that. So really, yeah, that's just that. Like when you see me interview other people, that's really what our
Gotcha.
main goal is.
Gotcha. No, it's good to be an informed voter, Mario.
Why do you think it's important for people to vote?
Oh, I think it's important because it determines the future, what's going on in our community. And whether it be county commissioners, whether it be state senators, or whether it be the sheriff or the prosecutor, any elected office is important. And it's important because it shapes the way our community is.
Let me tell you something that I heard a lot. I heard, I'm broke as fuck. I'm going paycheck to paycheck. Mario, that voting shit, that don't got nothing to do with anything, bro. What would you have to say to that voter?
To that voter, when it comes to my race or all races, I would say that if you don't vote, you don't have skin in the game. And if you don't have skin in the game, you shouldn't be complaining. Meaning you need to get out there and vote. So you at least have an opportunity to say to the people, yeah, I want so-and-so for president, or I want so-and-so for senator, because I believe that their mission is going to help me and my people or your community or your neighborhood, however you look at it.
You tell people exactly what you do, like your position that you are
right now,
and what you're running for. Exactly.
Sure. I'm running for sheriff of Washtenaw County. I'm running on the Democratic ticket. I've got over 30 years of law enforcement experience, and we can get into that in a little while. I was a street cop for 4 years in Jackson, Michigan. Then I was a federal agent, 24 years. I was an undercover agent in Detroit. I went to Bogota, Colombia, South America, and worked there for 7 years. I went to the West Coast, and I've been to the East Coast working on intelligence projects. I was at Atlanta for the Olympics for anti-terrorism in 1996. I was next to the bomb when it blew up. Helped save a little girl, little black girl. Her name was Fallon Stubbs. Now she's a grown woman. My gosh, that was 28 years ago, that Olympics. And
Dang, she back.
what's that? What's that?
She got an Instagram.
Is she what?
She on Instagram?
I can't hear
She
you.
on Instagram?
I don't know if she is or not. I'm friends with her on Facebook. Fallon Stubbs is her name. Stubbs.
Shout out
Fallon Stubbs.
Fallon.
Fallon Stubbs. A remarkable young lady because her mother was killed in a blast. And I was right next to the bomb. I still have inner ear trauma from it.
Damn, is her dad in her life?
What's that?
Is her dad in her life?
So here's what happened. The bomb explodes. I'm near the bomb. Run closer to the bomb. And that's the difference between cops and civilians. Civilians run away from the bomb. The cops are going to run towards the bomb. Due to my experience overseas, I'm aware of secondary explosions. A lot of terrorists operate that way. They will set off a smaller bomb and then set off a really big bomb once the police and all the first responders are there. Well, that didn't happen. There was one bomb in this situation, and her mother was killed immediately, and I could ascertain that. And she was laying on the ground. She was cut down to the bone in her brachial artery, which is her arm, and her femoral artery in her leg. I put my hands inside her leg and inside her arm to stop the bleeding. And we saved her. I went and visited her the next day in the hospital. It was really interesting. When I was walking into her room to say hello and introduce myself, it was 2 days afterwards, come to think of it. Jesse Jackson was walking out of the room. So I looked at her and I said, and Bill Clinton had just gotten off the phone with her and the president. And I said, I'm not Bill Clinton and I'm not Jesse Jackson. I'm just a guy that wanted to make sure that you were okay after what we experienced the other night. She said, yeah, Ken, but they didn't save my life. You did. And I had tears in my eyes that day. So bottom line is this, Fallon has grown up to be a young woman, and 7 years later after that explosion, we were reunited at the trial for the Olympic Park bomber, Eric Rudolph. And it was in that trial, I listened to her and learned several lessons. She forgave him, even though he killed her mother. She's a strong Christian, but I think she knows he had to go to prison for the rest of his life. But being involved in that case was very, very educational and just focuses some of my efforts in regards to what I do. But you asked, that's a side highlight of a story.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I was a federal agent for 24 years, and South America was on a team that killed Pablo Escobar. I captured an FBI top 10 fugitive. Yep, you can look up the book Killing Pablo, and written by Mark Bowden, who also did the movie Black Hawk Down, and also on the CNN.
Team that like hunted him down, or was that was hunting him?
No, I was on the team that hunted him down.
Like that got him that day, or just like the whole like?
There's a whole story to this. Make a long story short, we worked with the Columbia National Police, and there was a team of 5 DE agents, and I was one of them. I had followed the family to Germany 3 days before, and we got the family kicked out of Germany and got them sent back to Colombia. And I followed them back to Colombia. We put them in a hotel, and through electronic intercepts, we were monitoring the phone calls to the hotel. And this is all public knowledge now. And Pablo was so pissed off that he started making phone calls. The phone calls were triangulated, and a Columbia National Police specialized unit tracked him down to the area where he was speaking on the phone. A shootout ensued, and he was killed on the roof.
My street nigga friends are gonna love this shit right here. They're gonna love this clip right
here. Well, I'll tell you what.
They're gonna love this shit. They're gonna look, damn, that nigga got Pablo?
Yeah. No, so I'm gonna be real clear. I didn't fire the shot that killed Pablo, but I was on a team. A Colombian police officer killed him that day.
I don't know. To me, the sick part of it, I ain't gonna lie. The sick part of it is that they got a photo of it. Like when a man's brains blown out. They did the same thing with Bin Laden. They got his brains blown out on the floor in the chair or however they got him. And then they just taking a picture right there with you. Imagine your brain's blown out right now. He got a hand on your shoulder, I got a hand on your shoulder.
Well, I got that picture on my phone, but I'm not going to share it on this audience.
See, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Do you think that that's messed up to a degree, or you think it's just...
No, in most cases it is. But I will tell you this. Pablo Escobar was the world's most notorious criminal, the biggest criminal the world has ever seen. He blew up airplanes. He killed 700 police officers in 1 year through his orders. He blew up an airplane to kill one person. 7 Americans died on that airplane, but it was an Avianca airline. He was, if Al Capone was alive back in the day, he would have been maybe a driver for Pablo Escobar. And
Wow.
the reason I have the picture on my phone is because I do a lot of presentations to law enforcement officials, and I utilize that or presentations to intelligence agencies and things like that. So there's a whole reason and a whole system that goes where I give the presentation, and that ends up being the end.
Shit.
It's not something I share in public or anything like
You ain't
that.
laughing at Kim McGee no more, nigga.
Shit, I think that is for sure. It's like a wild man last name.
So,
Nigga, that nigga
but
killed
I
fucking- that nigga killed-
but I wa- but I-
I appreciate
but I appreciate the enthusiasm on the excitement in the case, but there's so much more to me than being involved in the killing of Pablo Escobar, the world's most notorious drug lord.
Yeah, I see.
There's so much more, and I was blessed while I was in Colombia. I captured an FBI top 10 fugitive who was a corrupt cop.
Let me
and
ask
he
you
was,
this though, real quick, just to get some
Sure.
minutes to know you. What's your favorite color out of curiosity?
What's that?
Favorite color out of curiosity?
My favorite color?
Mhm.
Blue.
All right, cool. And why so?
I love blue. I probably was the way I was raised. Go blue is how they started saying things when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid in elementary or nursery school, they would have all these colored blocks. They were green and yellow and red and purple, and you had to put them all separated by color. That was the experiment. And I remember as a little kid, I was told this by my mom that I put the blue and yellow blocks together because blue and yellow always went together, and I separated all the others.
Wow.
Sound
The
like
colors of
police.
Michigan. So I
Mhm.
grew up a big Michigan fan. I've written 4 books on the history of Michigan football.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of things like that. So, Marielle, any other questions, personal questions about that besides the color?
Abortion. That's like a
What's
main
that?
question for politicians. Abortion.
Abortion?
Yeah, what's your
Oh,
views on
we
abortion?
can get into that as well. Bottom line is we can get into that. I thought you meant like fun facts. You want to know my color, maybe
no.
my favorite song, my favorite music group or whatever. We can talk about abortion, but
Yeah.
I'm pro-choice. Let people make a decision on what they want to do. I mean, that's the bottom line.
For sure.
We could get into a lot of conversations about abortion and all the nuances, but for the purposes of the office of the sheriff, it's whatever the law allows. And if the law allows it, great. And if the law doesn't allow it, that's a whole nother story. But the law does allow it. And I'm glad it does because my personal feelings are I'm pro-choice. As a law enforcement executive, as a law enforcement official, you can't take sides. You have to just follow the law.
Yeah.
But as a person, you can have your personal opinions, but never should you let the two of them impact. Pro-choice, I'm fine with it. I got no problems with it. And I will tell you this, the Olympic Park bomber was anti-abortion. The Olympic Park bomber set off a series of bombs. One was at the Olympics, one was at an abortion clinic, and one was at a gay nightclub because he referred to himself as a member of the Army of God. And he was anti-gay. He was anti-abortion. And the reason he set the bomb off at the explosion at the Olympics was he said the United States government is in favor of abortion, in favor of indoctrinating the gay lifestyle in the community, and that infuriated him. And that's why he was trying to kill people and set off bombs.
Ken, I think that nigga was gay.
What's that?
I think that nigga was gay.
Well, I will tell you this. I know where he is now. He's in Florence, Colorado in maximum security prison, and he'll live out the rest of his life there. His name is Eric Rudolph, very complicated guy. He sounded very intelligent when he was speaking, but then once he started speaking and you got a little bit further into hearing him speak, I'm like, this dude's crazy. And this guy's dangerous. This guy's a terrorist. And whether, I don't know about his lifestyle personally. I understand the philosophy, though, that a lot of people that are anti-gay outwardly are also closet, and there's things going on in their head, and they project in a different way. In this guy's case, I'm not sure, but I know he was crazy.
Let me ask you this though.
Sure.
So you're running for sheriff. You're running for Washington County Sheriff. I want to know what is your. You're going to get into the shits. This is the thing.
But you know what? We didn't get a chance to finish Ashanti's question.
Yeah,
and that is finishing my career up as a federal agent. Then I became a chief of police at the University of Michigan. I was there for a few years. One of my highlights of being the chief of police at the University of Michigan was President Barack Obama came to town. Had about 6 to 8 weeks to prepare for it. I led the charge working with the Secret Service, over 1,000 police officers. Over 1,000 police officers were involved in that security protection team, from helicopter pilots to medics to working with the emergency rooms to SWAT teams to you name it. It was really neat. It was the largest protection detail in the history of the United States presidency outside of the Washington, D.C. area. So on my campaign flyer, I'm very proud of this picture because I'm one of the few people on the face of the planet that can stand next to the president of the United States with a 9mm pistol on my side.
I'm glad I see you alive in the flesh, like right here, right now.
Yeah.
Because if I just saw this picture, this would just be another face to me.
Yeah. So,
I'm gonna pop it up. I pop it up.
so you know, my mother was very proud of that picture. I mentioned my mother twice now.
I've seen that. Trust me.
Yeah. So,
So I had to get in.
so this is as much as some people may perceive it as a political statement. This is also a professional statement. There is very few people that can stand next to the president, and I was very proud of that operation. And to be able to protect the president, meet the president, and put together that entire operation, the largest crowd, over 100,000 people, to sit there and see a sitting president. And I'll go to my grave as that being one of my proudest moments in my career. So then, so after I left Michigan, then I got into some private business, and then I also was a law enforcement consultant. And right now, you guys, I'm involved as a contract employee with a group of people that helps find missing and kidnapped children. And so that's what I do. So over 30 years of law enforcement, several years of consulting, and also several years working on finding missing and kidnapped children. All of these
What
experiences.
you're doing now, you're finding kidnapped children right now.
Yeah, if I get a call to respond, you basically, we're consultants. We work with law enforcement. Normally, we get called to small, remote areas. Like a while ago, I was called to Plymouth, Indiana, to help find a 9-month-old missing baby. Sadly, that case ended tragically. We found the baby 3 days later. The baby was dead. The guy had killed the baby in a meth-induced craze and then buried the little baby in a shallow grave. And so, but we also have successes. I was called out to Grand Rapids where there was a missing 14-year-old girl. And she met a guy on the internet who promised her everything in the world. She was a emotionally insecure girl. She was 14. Her body structure was one that kids picked on her. And she found some guy.
She was thick.
She found some guy who promised her everything. Well, we found her 2 weeks later in a mobile park in Oakland County with a whole video system set up where the guy was just using her for sex videos.
Wow.
And so that was a rewarding ending, and that guy's in prison. So those are the kind of things that I bring to the table. There's so much involved, but I want you to understand something too, Ashanti and Marielle, and that my career has got all of these dynamite highlights.
Yeah.
But there's also the behind the scenes things, creating strategies to combat the methamphetamine lab problem that we had in the Pacific Northwest, creating strategies to stop drugs being imported in the United States, creating strategies for the illegal distribution of cocaine in certain neighborhoods, creating all sorts of strategies. And then there's the other side of me too that you don't know about. And that's the compassionate side. My mother was one of the most brilliant women in the world, but she was very compassionate. She taught me so many things. So when I arrested a hitman, a Puerto Rican hitman that murdered 33 people, on the way to jail, I took the guy through a drive-through. And my partner thought I was crazy. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Hey, dude, tonight you and I are going to celebrate. There's not many people on the face of the planet that arrested somebody that murdered 33 people.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate tonight." This guy's going to a jail cell in Puerto Rico that's 5 feet by 6 feet, made out of concrete bed with a hole in the ground for him to take a shit in, that once a week they come in with a fire hose and rinse the whole thing down. I said, "So show a little compassion. Let's get this guy's last meal on the outside." He looked at me and said, "Okay, you're in charge." And that's exactly what I did. So there's the other side of me that's very compassionate, even towards the people that I've arrested, but also creating strategies to prevent children from going into the arena of drugs or suicide ideology, things of that nature.
Man?
What's that?
You smell art, man?
No.
Oh, all right, cool.
I missed that, but that's between you guys.
Let me ask you this real quick.
So bottom line is there's other strategies that I put together, and I've worked in a preventative type atmosphere of helping kids in suicide ideology to stop suicidal thoughts and things like that nature. So that's my background, Ashanti. Your turn. What you got next for me? You okay?
Let me time out real quick.
Great.
Time out real quick.
You're taking it all in? Yeah, taking it all in. There's a lot. There's a lot going on in the wide, wide world of law enforcement. You see, Ashanti, taking the fan down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
That's a lot of noise.
I agree with you. But there's a lot of things behind the scenes that happen in law enforcement and a lot of things you see. And you got to keep your eyes on the fact that no matter how much tragedy you have in your life or you see, keep in mind, take tragedies and turn them into treasures. How do you do that? You focus on things that you've seen and try and find a positive in it or try and find a teaching moment. Ashanti, I lost a brother to a drug overdose. And I talk about it all the time. I don't hide behind it. I don't feel ashamed of it, that here I am, a federal agent running around the world, arresting some of the world's most notorious drug dealers and hitmen and organized crime. But I talk about my brother, say, hey, if it can happen to my family, it can happen to you. And so I use that. Are we okay? Marlo?
Nope. Audio stop. Your audio stop.
How long ago?
Oh no, just now. You back on.
Yeah, so I say take tragedies and turn them into treasure. It's how you maintain your sanity as well, and that it's a way of just giving back to the community by being able to share your stories. So, and I saw my brother destroyed by drugs, and it impacts everyone. I say I don't care what color you are, I don't care how rich you are, I don't care how poor you are, I don't care about anything except for the fact I don't want you destroying your body with drugs, and I don't want you to die of a drug overdose. So when we talk about drugs and things of that nature, people say that I'm tough on drugs. I'm not tough on drug users. I want to get them help. I want to get them treatment. I want to get them institutionalized in a system that can give them treatment and therapy and get them off the crack or off the weed or off the meth or off the horse, you know. And those are the things that I care about. But I will tell you this: I'm not ashamed to say that I think drug dealers should be punished heavily.
Okay, yeah. See, now this is what the problem we got. Like this, I got a
They
question
should
right
be
here.
punished because they are preying on the members of the community,
I
your
gotta ask
brothers, your sisters, your nephews, your cousins, and everybody. And I know you, and I know you, and I know me, and I know almost everybody out there in the Ashanti show world has had somebody impacted by drugs, and it all started with a drug dealer.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I went to a couple of your. I seen you out like a lot, bro. So then you say that a lot, and then I don't know when everybody hears that. Like I'm telling you, all the black people around me, they be like, "That nigga want to lock niggas up." He's like, "For sure, he trying to get everybody."
No, because here's
let me speak real quick.
go for it.
You want to lock niggas up. You want to lock everybody up because I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. Like this whole podcast and this whole thing, I try to like lighten it up, but really it's to talk about black people. And I really want.
Okay, I got you.
The perspective I come from is a black person. That sounds like you want to lock niggas up because I say most people, we come from struggling environments, and that's like the main out that a lot of people see, and that's the main out that most everybody goes for. Like we talked about fucking your brother selling with your goddamn moms, you know what I mean? And they created a business together. Is that you remember?
Yeah.
So it's like
legal.
yeah, no, I'm just saying, nigga, they went that route, nigga. That's the route we think. That's the only route that you see when you're feasible when you're in poverty.
My mama was also a dental school to be a dental assistant. Like, you know,
College don't. That shows how much college don't matter.
it's just how shit go. Like,
Well, let's talk about that real quick, okay? You say
And that
that's
locks
what
up-
some of the African Americans. That's not the word you use, though, but that's the word that I use.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, of course.
blacks, African Americans,
Of course.
and I can tell you, I've heard you guys banter back and forth, use the N word at least 24 times so far. My mother would have beat
Yeah.
my ass had I used that word as a kid,
I
and I've
believe
learned that lesson to the day
Wait,
to this
you
day.
black? You got black in you?
What's that?
You black?
No, but
Oh.
my mother would have. I got
Sure.
what you're saying, but
Sure.
no, she would have beat my ass, and I
Nah,
was.
'cause some black people
yeah.
are like, I know black people that look like you. And
Yeah.
then they'd be like, what? No, but my mom and dad, they're black.
No,
So I thought
no,
you-
no, they're not. They're not. But well, let's get back to what you said. Yeah, some people look at that because people want to take that narrative, what I just said, and turn it against me and say, I want to lock black people up. Let me tell you something. If you're a black guy and you're a major drug dealer, you're killing black people. So you tell me, what do you want? You want to save your cousins? You want to save your brothers and sisters? Or do you want to punish the guy and hold the guy back that's dealing crack, selling heroin, and fentanyl. So, and you don't get a pass because you're black. You don't get a pass because you're white. And if you're a major drug dealer, I've got concerns. But keep in mind, remember I talked about those brothers and sisters and cousins and nieces? I want to get them help. I don't want to lock up people for low-level possession of dope. I don't. I want to give them the help. And I'm not going to lock them up, and I'm not going to charge them. I'm going to work on, I've created a strategy. It's called PETER. It stands for Prevention, Enforcement, Treatment, Education, and Recovery. And I want to take half the jail. And if somebody's doing time that's got a drug problem, I want to have a substance abuse clinic within the jail to help those people.
Let me ask you
So
this
it's
real quick.
not, Mariel, it's not about, some people may say that. They're going to twist it and say, oh, remember the crack cocaine epidemic? Yeah, that was a tragedy back in the 80s with the way that things were handled, where blacks were treated poorly and blacks were treated differently because of the high sentencing
That's
for
what
crack
we
cocaine.
see. We get PTSD. As soon as you say that, you're like, oh, he trying to create that again. 3
Well,
strikes, you got,
yeah.
he trying to go after this guy.
No. It's not about being black or white. It's about if you're a major drug dealer.
Let me
And
ask you this.
everybody should be treated the same. And right now, proportionally, African Americans are dying of overdoses in our county at an 80% rate more than they were 5 years ago. Think about that. Your black brothers and sisters are dying at a rate of 80% more than they were. That's a huge number. So you talk about the individuals talking about getting out of, they find that that's their way out of the community. There's a lot of people that found their way out of the poverty levels that didn't have to resort to selling drugs. And I'm not talking about some dude having a drug problem, running to Detroit, scoring 2 grams of heroin and coming back and selling it to his buddy for $40.
I'm
I'm
so
not, that's
sick.
not a drug dealer.
Y'all niggas better learn. He know the game. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what dog food is?
What's no? I don't. Talk to me.
He lying. All right.
Do I know what is?
For me, I don't even know it. What's
Dog food?
Yeah.
No, talk to me. Ashanti doesn't know it, so I'm not going to know it, and you guys are hanging.
All right. Let me ask you this real quick. All right. So I want to, because I even looked up recently.
So did I take care of your PTSD? I'm not looking for you because you're black and you're a drug dealer, but I am looking for you if you're a drug dealer and you are killing people in the neighborhoods.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
I even looked at the president level of succession. He got 18 people that's after him when he gets out of president. If the president dies right now, he has 18 people ready to take his place. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I would say, even once you get, you have a career track record of locking the big drug dealers up. That's obviously a known fact. My thing is, what are you gonna do after you get that person? Because if you lock up Ashanti, the big drug dealer of goddamn Ipsy or who cares, right? If you lock up that,
What's dog food? I'm curious on what dog food is.
Keep on going with your thought, though. We'll talk about dog food in a minute.
If you lock up the big drug dealer, how are you gonna stop the next dude that's like, oh, I can take his spot. Oh my goodness, we can make it out. How are you going to stop? That's the main issue.
That's a great question. Okay, so what you're talking about is taking a look at the sociology of the community. How do you fix things? Keep in mind the role of the sheriff.
Because even if you lock that person up, it's like, it's going to be another person right after that.
I got you. I got you.
After that.
So let me talk to the folks in Ashanti land while I'm answering your question. Please. Bottom line is this here, folks. We will never win the war against drugs, ever. It will never be won, but we will win every battle we choose to fight. So if there's somebody dealing dope in your neighborhood, killing your brothers and sisters, your cousins and your nieces, and we target that individual because he's a dope dealer, in due time, we're going to win that battle. But there's going to be that other guy that steps in. You're exactly right. And that's where we come back. We're not going to win the war against drugs, but we'll win every battle we have to fight. Now, your question is more holistic in nature of saying, what about the overall problem? And that's where it comes in my strategy called PETER, Prevention, Enforcement, Treatment, Education, and Recovery. You mentioned your mom was a dental hygienist. You mentioned your dad's upstairs. Marielle, I don't know your background, but my point is family values and parents working with their kids so they stay away from dope, get involved in after-school activities, involved in literacy programs where kids are learning to read. So that isn't their way out, dope. It isn't their way out of finding a life of crime. It's the way to get out is to do those things. All right. We were singing some songs earlier. Okay. And you ever hear of Lou Rawls?
Nope.
Okay. He's a black singer. There's a song called The Windy City. And he talks about being raised in Chicago. And it was called The Dead End Street. And he talks about getting out,
Mhm.
and getting a job and doing things of that nature. And it's a great song to listen to, and it plays along with what we're talking about. But the sheriff's role, he can't solve all the community's problems. He can't. And if you do, you start leaving the lane. You can't solve the problem of kids going to school hungry, which is a problem. I got it. I'm 100% on board. I want kids to be able to eat in school so they can learn. Poor kids from the ghetto, from the impoverished neighborhoods. I want them to be able to eat. But the sheriff, that's not their
Quick
responsibility.
time out. When I ever ask you a question, I
Sure.
really just want to know you overall, not even you just being a sheriff. You can tell me beforehand, like when I'm sheriff, I'm not gonna have the power to change this, but I would think to do this, or I would if
I
you
got
could.
you. I got you. And Mario, listen, do I believe we can do so much more in society to stop drug use and drug abuse and things of that nature?
Because
Absolutely.
even if you become sheriff, I know the sheriff Derek and Nicole. When you become sheriff, you even have the power to even talk to these people.
Alicia, not Nicole.
Or Nicole. Nicole is the mayor, right?
Yeah,
Brown?
Nicole Brown. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet you have the power to talk to these people to make even more changes. Is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
So you can
you
even
need,
whisper in her and be like, "Hey, we should probably no. These people look up to the drug dealer. Like they look up to the drug. Like I know somebody they look up to the drug dealers. You know what
right,
I'm saying?
right.
So then if you come from that perspective, it's like
Because
it's gonna be hard.
it's a 13-year-old kid looking at the guy pulling up in a Maserati, thinking, "Hey, with all the gold and whatever the case may be," they look up to him because they don't see the downside. They don't think of it. They say, "I want to be like him. I want to have all those things." But in a lot of homes, the mother's going to sit there and say, "You don't look up to him. You get your ass back in the house and you study your books and you do something that's going to become productive, as opposed to being a dope dealer."
But she got to work like 80 hours a week. She ain't got time.
In some cases, yeah.
She go to sleep and
Yeah, and they blink and their kids out on the street doing things. I was knocking on doors the other day in Willow, right? And I met this old black man. He was probably about 80 years old. And he said to me, he goes, "Tell me about your platform." Told him about drugs, told him about guns. I also have an idea about how to stop writing people tickets. I want to talk about that later on, traffic education versus traffic enforcement. And but he says, "I got a grandson. He's locked up." I said, "How old is he?" He goes, 17. I said, what did he do?" He goes, "He had a gun." I said, why do you have a gun?" He goes, "Because he was dealing drugs." And I said, he said his mother wanted me to bail him out, help bail him out, get him out. And I said, "I'm not getting him out. He's going to get killed if he gets out, or he's going to kill somebody if he gets out." And he said, "I don't know why this kid went the wrong way. I don't know." Now, what do I believe? I believe in most cases, people are salvageable, but sometimes they have to pay the penalty for some of the deeds they've done. So it's a sociological approach to looking at, and that's why I'm stressing to you, Mariel, don't just think that Ken Magee wants to lock up a bunch of people. That ain't it. I want to lock up drug dealers that are killing the good people, and not lock up the drug user, not lock up the black guy that's had a heroin addiction problem for 9 years. But if he goes to jail because he broke into somebody's house, or he wrote bad checks, or he stole a car, or whatever the case may be, let's get him help while he's in jail. But I'm not going to charge him with 2 grams of heroin. I don't want to. I got a whole program for it. So it's about helping people, but holding others accountable, because that's the problem we face right now. So I want to say to the people in ASHANTI land, as well as you, Mario, this is not a black-white issue. And I'm sorry about what happened to the African-American population in the 1980s in the crack cocaine epidemic. I saw it. I don't think it was right. The sentencing guidelines were wrong. African-Americans were using more crack cocaine than regular cocaine. The whites were using the regular cocaine. The blacks were using the crack cocaine, and the sentences for crack were much higher. And that was wrong. Yeah. I'm not debating that. But what I will tell you is this: in my career locking up people, I would say, in my career arresting bad guys, drug dealers, I would say it would be 15% black, 70% white, 20% Hispanic. Okay? And that's about what our society reflects, more or less.
that doesn't add up.
Yeah, it does. 15 or 15, 20%, and then 5% other ethnicities, more or less.
I got you.
So you got the numbers, more or less, give or take. Give or take.
I'm smart, nigga.
Give or take 15%. Give or take.
Damn, my bad. Damn. Don't come come after me, Ken.
Yeah.
Don't come after me.
Give
Don't come after me.
yeah, give or take 15% black, give or take those other numbers. It's more or less that. And you know what? And I will tell you what, everyone was a major drug dealer.
Right.
How many people did I arrest that had a gram of heroin and locked them up in jail? I can think of one time when I was a young patrol officer and I didn't have any authority to do anything, but I learned that guy had a drug problem. And it's funny because that guy, I remember meeting later on and say he got some help because he got locked up. So sometimes people get forced into the positions of getting help. But the PTSD from the crack cocaine epidemic, let's end that right now under my watch, okay? Because it is all about the 5 concepts I talked about: prevention, enforcement, treatment, education, and recovery. That's how we get out of the problem, but we have to continuously work on each one. And if you ever want to get into the nuances of the difference, for example, prevention and education, totally different. Totally different. Education is talking to the Nicole Browns and talking to the communities and talking to congressmen and senators and legislators to say, don't cut budgets when it comes to this problem. Don't cut budgets when it comes to recovery and treatment and prevention. Don't cut budgets when it comes to enforcement, because that is what's killing more people, that and gun violence.
Let me cut it to you real quick. All right, let me get this. I just want to play a quick game real quick.
Yeah, play with it.
Versus, but I want to do presidents. We usually do music like Tupac, Biggie, but you're more a political figure. So let's do
Okay.
presidents.
All right.
All right.
I probably don't know as much rap as you.
Yeah, I know.
But I do know Rapper's Delight, Sugar Hill Gang.
Tired.
That was our theme song back in the day.
Tired. Started rappers. You just made a reference.
Or the Brick House, you name it. But it's 70s, 80s stuff. Sugar Hill Gang was before your time. But Rapper's Delight, Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. If your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. Hip hop. You don't know that song? You got a lot to learn here. You got a lot to learn. A Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn. If your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. Hip hop, hitty hop, hop, rocking in the bad boy boogie to beat. Motel, Holiday Inn.
All right, let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
And just give me a quick why real quick.
Yeah.
Obama, if you have to choose right now, Obama or Clinton? And not the Hillary Clinton, the dude Clinton, Bill Clinton.
No, I got you. Gosh, 50-50.
Why does it matter?
50-50.
We're choosing.
Well, I'm not going to choose one over the other. 50-50. I think they both had their place in history. And
I'm talking about, like, if you have to choose one right now.
To be president right now.
Yeah, I know you probably got to go through a whole bunch of just an opinion.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of.
We don't got liquor here. We got liquor here. We be like, you got to take a shot or something like that.
No. I don't even drink. I quit drinking right after 9/11. I had too much stuff going on in my life.
Damn.
When you're making decisions and looking at major criminals and taking them down and making decisions, it saves people's lives. I would probably go with Clinton with a close second to Obama. But, then I might go with Obama. Why? Because I know that's who my mom wanted me to go for. But then again, we don't base our vote on what other people think. It's what we think.
Why you say Clinton for today?
What's that?
Why you say Clinton for today?
I'm trying to reflect in regards to the concerns that I had over the presidencies. I didn't really have many concerns over either of them.
For sure. All right, and then let me do the next one. Clinton or Reagan?
Clinton or Reagan?
Mm-hmm.
I go with Clinton.
Clinton or Bush? W. Bush?
I might go with Bush only because I like the way that he handled 9/11 in striking back to protect our country immediately. Mm-hmm. But that's an unfair comparison because Clinton didn't have that, for lack of a better term, opportunity in time. I'm all about policy and qualifications and platforms over politics. I don't pick people because of the party. I look at them as a person and what they can do to make the world a better place.
For sure.
And Bush or Trump? W. Bush, Trump?
Bush.
Trump or Kanye?
What?
Now we're getting in fancy, man.
What's that?
Trump or Kanye?
Trump or Kanye?
Yeah, Kanye West.
I'm going to go turn on Rapper's Delight and listen to it and then pretend you didn't even ask that question.
Huh? What? Which one? Which one?
You're like, no, man, it's a hypothetical. I'm not going to say either one of them because that ain't going to happen.
All right. Do you know who Kendrick Lamar is?
No.
That's something to say.
All right,
Like,
for sure.
you
Not very
think,
well.
Like, like, what's the likelihood, like, in your opinion, like, that Trump is going to win the next election?
Oh, gosh. You're asking who I want to win or who I think will win?
What do you believe the likelihood that Trump will win this election? Do you think it's high, low, or like prediction? I want you to like give out a prediction. I on specifically Trump,
If people
doing another like run, I'm not terrified because I kind of lost hope.
Well, I don't think you should ever. I don't think you should ever lose hope, because if you lose hope, then you might not vote, and if you don't vote, then you assure people that Trump might win. What you asked me a question? My personal opinion, I think Joe Biden is in serious trouble right now.
Yeah.
And I heard Congressman Dingell speak the other day, and it was a very, very well said speech that she gave, basically a response to a question. It wasn't a speech. But she said the only person that can get Joe Biden back on track is Joe Biden. And she said he's got 2 weeks to do it. That's her thought. She said she loved him. He was a good friend of hers, good friend of her husband's when he died. Joe Biden was right there, and God bless him. But that's what she said, and I agree with him. And so if I was in charge of the Democratic Party right now, I would be concerned, and I know they all have concerns. I've turned on the TV. We've all watched the same thing. 73% of America right now is very concerned about Joe Biden. It only takes 51% to win, or 50% plus one vote.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I don't really care about the presidential like that. I ain't gonna
Well,
lie to you. I care more about Ken McGee, or at least
yeah,
care more
and
about
I
these things, to be
appreciate
honest
that.
with you.
I appreciate that. But we were playing your game, and if this was my podcast, I'd stay local as well.
Because I should have did Alicia or Derek.
What's
Alicia
that?
Derek. Alicia Derek. If you were out of the race, of course. If you were out of the race, Alicia or Derek.
If I was out of the race, Alicia or Derek,
Yeah, Alicia or Derek.
I'm in the race. I'm not. I'm not. I'm in the race. I'm in the race. I'm in the race, and I plan on winning this race. It's a gold medal, and I'm going to win it. And because I'm vastly different than them, and I have a platform, I have strategies to save lives. Do I think they mean well? Yes, I do. But I think that they base their whole philosophy on social work, and that is not the way a law enforcement agency should be run. Social work should be part of a law enforcement agency. No question about it. Let's get that clear. Law enforcement leaders should listen to social workers. They should listen to psychologists. They should listen to youth development officials, experts. They should listen to a lot of people, borrow from different modalities. Marielle and Chianti. I have a theory, and it's called ASHANTI. Chianti. ASHANTI.
Chianti, like that's like the Hamilton.
They gonna be your last one. I got your back.
I got you. ASHANTI and Marielle. ASHANTI and Marielle. Listen, I have a theory. It's called my philosophy of leadership is thinking outside the
box.
Thank you. You said it. I didn't. I say think outside the badge. Think differently. Think outside the badge. Maintain your traditional values as a law enforcement leader, but borrow from other modalities. Borrow from social workers. Borrow from educational teachers. Borrow from the financial industry. Borrow from the advertising industry. Boom, 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 boom. All the different things. To make you a better leader, you can borrow from other modalities. And that's the way I look at things. And that's why I've been so successful over 30 plus years of doing what I've done, because I look outside the badge when I'm leading law enforcement officials.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
How does your family life look like?
My family life?
Yeah. Do you have wife, kids, blah, 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 blah,
Sure.
blah?
I have a beautiful wife, and I am the father of a 26-year-old young lady who right this moment is in China.
You stupid.
And my daughter's in China right now. My daughter's Colombian. She graduated from DePaul University, and she does a great job. She's a beautiful young lady. No, my wife, this is my second wife. My daughter's mother is Marielle. Go ahead. Take it out. Take it away. Go ahead.
Really? He's doing dumb shit. We on camera, nigga. Shut the fuck up and talk.
Marielle, I don't know if you're asking him to ask me for my daughter's phone number. I'm not sure, but I can tell you what, she's a beautiful lady. So her mother was Colombian. My daughter's Hispanic. My daughter's Colombian.
Yeah, right, nigga.
And there you go. And
All right, cool.
and
All right, let's
you
go.
know what? And it was right now she's in China on for work. And last night she was live selling products from her company out of New York City. Her name is Daniela. You
Crazy.
can check her out on. She's got all that Daniella. So her mother's Colombian as well. The marriage didn't work out after our daughter was born, and I met my wife about 11 years ago, and we have a great relationship and love each other very much and do a lot of things together. We work out together, we vacation together, we do all sorts of things. So
You got a crazy ass life. I really want to know how do you deal with family outside of like your crazy ass shit you be doing?
Well, I've got a very supportive wife, number one. Number two is I've learned to multitask for a long time. Although I'm older than my opponents, I have boundless energy. And I attribute that to working out my entire life, being athletic. You know, I'm a martial artist. I fourth degree black belt in martial arts. I used to teach kids martial arts, and I was a coach of a team for kids. We work out. I've done endurance sports and just all athletics has always been part of my life. And that's carried on. Do I have my aches and pains? Absolutely. You get that when you get older, but my wife's younger than I. I'm 65 years old. I'll be 64 years old. How old are we today? I was born in 1958, so I'm going to be 66 years old 9 days after I win the election.
Damn, you wildin'. Nah, you look 40. Like,
yeah, no, I appreciate that.
You cool as hell.
Yeah, we work out. We work out a lot. And like I say, I don't drink, I don't smoke, and we buy a Powerball ticket now and then. You know, who doesn't, right? We don't spend a lot on it though. And my wife is very athletic and she's very healthy as well. And I'm also a vegetarian.
Okay, so you're a vegetarian. Oh,
yeah.
Shit. I heard the veg. See, okay.
So
that's cool.
So you want to know, like, shoot, you told us a lot up until now.
Sure.
I know you attribute the peace that you have in your life, your ability to escape the stresses that is your job.
Tragedies, turn them into treasures.
Precisely. I really want to know some of the practices that you do for yourself outside of like working out, meditate, things that in your daily practice. You know.
I pray. I'm a Christian. I believe in a God. I believe many people have a variance of what they perceive as God, but let's just refer to it as a higher power for all. Yeah. And I play no favorites for any faith whatsoever. I respect each and every one's higher power. And how do I keep my sanity is basically what you're saying. And that Ashanti, I am blessed. I've been in the belly of the beast. I'm still alive. I've slayed the beast several times. I've been in near-miss plane accidents. I've been involved where people have taken a shot at me. I've been involved where there's been bombs. We've already talked about the Atlanta Olympics. I didn't talk to you about the countless explosions and bombs in South America. There was one car found right across the street from my building, this bomb would have destroyed the entire block, filled with 600 kilograms of dynamite. It would have taken out my building and several other buildings. The police discovered this car bomb. So my point is, once again, just blessed. I'm blessed. I've got the good Lord looking over me. I've had a lot of close calls. I've had a police officer shot and killed. I held him as he died. There was a building fire when I was a patrolman, and it was a 4-story brick building, and it caught on fire. I discovered the fire as a young patrolman driving on patrol. It turned out it was arson. Make a long story short, the building went huge. It was huge, and it went up in flames, and the building collapsed. And 4 stories of bricks didn't fall inward, they fell outward. And they killed the guy next to me. He was a firefighter. They crushed him. He died. I lived. I gave him CPR. I had to go to his autopsy the next day because I was the investigating officer. But my point is, that could have been me. Yeah. That could have been me. So I take all of those lessons and understand this. Bottom line is, I am blessed. And that's why I treat everyone with respect. And that's why I believe in what I do. And I believe in making the world a safer place. And that is my cause. That is why I'm here. Yeah. If you haven't already, if the two of you figure out, why are you on this planet? What are you here for? Is it to educate people about politics through your podcast? That's awesome. Is it to help people with fitness like my wife does? If it's to educate and provide literacy in prisons and jails, that's awesome. But find your cause for life to make the world a better place. And that's how I am. And that's why I say, hey, if you're dealing drugs, you need to be held accountable. But you need to be more thoughtful of the holistic aspect of why you're on this planet. So besides saying we're holding these people accountable, how can we help these people over there? And then the flip side is once we hold you accountable, how can we make sure that when you return as a citizen, that you're not doing the same thing? And I got all that. But as the office of the sheriff, you need to stay in your lane and understand you can't fix every problem in society. And if you do, you fix nothing. Yeah, because if you are watered down doing 20 things, but your main focus is 5 things, then you fail. You don't accomplish those 5 things as effectively as you should have because you're outside of your lane. It would be like your math teacher saying, I'm going to educate you, young man. I'm going to educate you in so many different things. Your math teacher says, I'm going to teach you how to build buildings. I don't really know how to do it, but I'm going to take it on. I'm going to teach you how to speak Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I'm going to help you learn Spanish. Well, wait, aren't you my math teacher? Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing? Teaching me math? Oh, we'll get around to that too. But no, you're not a Spanish teacher, and you're not a construction teacher, and you're not a science teacher. Teach me math because that's where I'm going to. And that's my point about the sheriff's office. To protect and serve, stay in your lane, enforce the laws, create crime prevention strategies, crime prevention, which is not enforcing the law, it's preventing crime from occurring, and doing your job, staying in your lane. The problem is when you become too political, here's the deal. As a law enforcement officer, do you want a law enforcement officer being political? Do you? You want the guy that pulls you over to sit there and say, hey, young man, I want to know, are you for abortion or against it? And, well, you're like, you're a cop. You know, what do my political opinions and my religious feelings have about anything? They don't mean anything. He shouldn't be able to ask you that. And hopefully he won't. But my point is, stay in your lane.
I ain't gonna lie to you, but yeah. I think, Ken, this is the one thing I feel like you don't really realize too much. That aspects, that humanized aspects, I think, I ain't gonna lie, we've been seeing Alicia and Derek everywhere. I think that aspects wins over everything. Because I think they're realizing that human aspect, it doesn't matter if if they're not saying, if they're not bringing the sociology part into it, the human part is that's in there already. That's the thing that you're not realizing. Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I do realize it. This is a political race, though, and everybody has a different opinion. And there are some people who want the sheriff's office to stop dealing with politics and want them to stop the 23 murders that we had last year in Washington County or the 38 shootings in the last 120 days. So you can talk all you want about being a social worker. Social workers, I don't believe, should run a law enforcement agency. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. And I'll disagree with you.
Can't run a law enforcement agency?
What's that?
You said social workers?
No, I don't think they should.
Why not?
Because I believe, once again, I said earlier, borrow from different modalities. I think they should be a part of law enforcement. But Marielle, there is so much more to law enforcement agency than the small concept of being a social worker. There's running detective units. There's running traffic. There's morale. There's leadership. There's budgets. There's doing tactical investigations. There's doing intensive investigations dealing with human trafficking, drug trafficking, gun running, financial crimes, things of that nature. There's the morale of leadership. There's the brother and sisterhood of people in law enforcement that look at people. It's just like soldiers that have fought in the battlefield. Who do they respect more? The general that was a pencil pushing ass kisser, or the general that actually fought in a battle? Because if you don't have the morale, if you don't have the men and women who are working for you respect you, you're not going to be successful. And so you may disagree with me and think that I'm missing it. I don't miss it. I totally understand it. I am a person that will humanize many situations. I am a person that cares about people. I am a person, you take a look at my policies. You think my policies sound like some conservative, hardcore, hard-ass law enforcement guy? I just talk about gun dealers and drug dealers and drug dealers and treating them seriously. Take a look at my platform and the humanization of how I'm concerned about young African Americans who get pulled over and get a ticket and they can't pay the ticket. I have a whole policy to prevent that from happening. You haven't learned about that. And think about me as a person when I sit there and say, I want to take part of the jail and turn it into a recovery unit. Think about me as a person that wants a holistic approach towards helping people with their substance abuse addiction problems. Think about me. I totally agree with engagement in the community. You have to be out there. That is one small part of law enforcement. There's so much more. And there are a lot of people that just want to see crime stopped and drug dealers out of their neighborhood and gun violence to stop and domestic violence to stop. So you can buy into exactly what they're saying. We can agree to disagree. And that's why I'm running. If I didn't think I was the most qualified or my plan wasn't the best to save lives, I wouldn't be running.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. He seemed like a more shredded. He seemed like a more shredded Alicia Dyer. I ain't gonna lie. Like a more like, yeah, because he been like with the president. Like I feel like he been more up top and shit. But I feel like Alicia, she been a police officer in Ipsy. She just been in Ipsy. She was only an officer.
She's
in Ipsy.
and this is where podcasts and live engagements and the rebuttals and debates. Alicia worked on the streets for 6 years and 4 months. 6 years and 4 months. Okay. And I've got over 30 years. And not
how long was that was in Ipsy?
I worked in Jackson as a patrol officer for about 4 years.
Jackson.
So it's Jackson, Michigan. So when
Dang,
and then
damn,
she
your
worked
ass.
as a Marine deputy for a few years. But the thing is too, with my opponents, there was never any executive leadership. There was no leading investigations. There was no leading community crime fighting strategies. And I've done all that, 15, 20 years worth of it, where you were actually a leader in charge of, I told you about the Obama thing, leading over 1,000 law enforcement officers working side by side with law enforcement.
Dang, I ain't gonna
Being
lie to you.
involved, Marielle, in the world's largest investigations brings a certain experience and expertise coming here. We spoke earlier, Ashanti. If you have a bad heart, who are you going to? Who are you going to? Your friend who you like because he's a brand new doctor? Or do you go to the person who's got 30 years of saving lives and working on your heart, who is effective, who's direct? He's going to say, I'm going to save your life, but you need to understand A, B, and C.
My biggest fear
Yeah.
is I think that this is what I'm thinking from the outside, just hearing it. I think the viewers probably got the same thing. You've been all around the world, but you haven't been too much in Ipsy.
I lived in Ypsilanti Township for 4 years and when I worked in Detroit. No, I lived here in Ypsilanti Township. Ashanti, look, and this is Marielle.
This is the only thing that changed my mind. This is the only thing that changed my mind. We interview rappers too.
Yeah.
And like a lot of rappers, they come from street life and stuff like that. They'll come in here. I was like, hey, I just got out, and like from the shootings that you talking about. And then they'll come and then they'll be like, oh yeah, Alicia running? I was like, oh dang, yeah, I remember she used to patrol in my neighborhood. That's the thing that changes our whole perspective on Alicia. You go to the, just being blunt, honest with you, you go to the people in the hood right now, and they be like, oh, Alicia? Oh, she running? And it's like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. No. Oh, Alicia? Oh, I don't know shit about nothing. But
so you know what? So you know what? Vote for Alicia then. And guess what? You're voting for the person that's not qualified. That's the bottom line. You vote for the person because you liked her, because she worked in your neighborhood, because she talked to you, because you're your friend, or you talked about earlier about Black people being uninformed voters. And that's one of the problems. You're voting for somebody because you like them or they're your friend. And the whole aspect of the analogy, and it sounds like my opponent saying that I never worked the streets in Ypsilanti. I did work the streets, but I was a federal agent. And I worked in this area, okay? But no, I wasn't in a patrol car. It takes a hell of a lot more to be a law enforcement leader than having patrol car karaoke where you're playing songs in the park with the kids. Yeah. Hey, believe me, I can talk all day long about all the things I've done for children throughout my career. Drug prevention art contests, martial arts instructor to kids, traveling around the country with them, providing them mentorship and role modeling and leadership. But so the idea that I don't know Ipsy or I didn't live in Ipsy, I'll be honest with you. Let me look it straight to your audience. That's a bunch of bullshit. Why? I'll tell you why it's a bunch of bullshit. Because if you think Ypsilanti is so special as compared to another town or another town or another town, that's the problem we have in Washtenaw County. People say, well, we're different here. We're different than other communities. No, Ypsilanti is just like another community, is just like another community. A lot of people involved in crime are the same people. They're going to prey on people. They're going to prey on the young people.
Mhm.
And they're going to prey on people. And so I look at it this way, Mario. I'm going to disagree with you. No, I didn't work in a patrol car in Ypsilanti for 6 years. But guess what? I did a hell of a lot of stuff all around the world. And if you want to use that analogy,
You like Alicia Dyer on steroids.
yeah,
Well,
and if you want to use that analogy, and Alicia likes to point it out, Derek Jackson never worked in a patrol car. He's never made an arrest, never pulled a car over, never did a criminal investigation, never led a criminal investigation, never led a detective unit, was not a sergeant, was not a lieutenant, was not a captain, was not a commander.
Gotta talk to you,
So-
Derek, bro. Come
so,
through.
yeah. So, and Derek will sit there and talk to you. And I believe me, I've heard it. I could repeat his speeches. He talks about changing the soil in the community. That's a 20, 30-year approach. And guess what? The people in the street and a lot of the people that I knocked on doors in Willow, they don't give a shit about that. What they want is to see crime fighting right now. And they want to see the crime stop right now, as opposed to this, well, if we change the soil of the community, is what he loves to say. And I tell you what, I don't disagree. Change the soil of the community, but do it in the aspect of a social worker and working with all these different agencies, not as the chief law enforcement officer that is failing miserably right now in regards to fighting crime in this community. It's out there, man. The numbers are there. The numbers are there. The Derek Jackson experiment has not worked. 23 murders, the majority of in Eastern Washington County last year. Over 38 shootings right now. What is the solution here?
Damn.
What are they doing about it, Mario?
Jazz.
What?
Man,
What's that?
Nothing.
Jackson, bro. Oh,
Yeah. No, get them on and
No.
let them talk about all this. And I'll tell
Yeah.
you what,
You heard me.
it's all, and when I hear them talk and I sit there and say, that's all great from we had a forum last night that we were allowed to have debate. It was a debate and we were allowed to have a rebuttal. And after the two of them spoke, I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is a perfect example of what's going on in this race. We have two social workers that want to have a social work approach to law enforcement, and we have a law enforcement executive. Somebody's got 30 years.
Let me ask you this.
And social work approach has not worked. Look at the crime in Portland, Oregon. Look at the crime in Seattle, Washington. Look at all the crime in the street. When they have those types of approaches, I'm sorry, they're not working.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
Top three. Quickly go over your top three things that you're doing and that you would like to be done.
The top three things. Let's let
If
me
you
alter
elect-
that. Let me alter that slightly and make it four. Number one is all accountability and transparency. We'll put that together.
Mhm.
Or yeah, we can put that together. Accountability and transparency. I have lots of plans on opening so you can sit there on that laptop and possibly watch body camera footage eventually. I want to open up the freedom of information. I asked Derek Jackson last night, when you talk about hiring convicted felons at the sheriff's department,
Just make sure you talk to the right part.
when he talks about hiring convicted felons at the sheriff's department, I say, how many of them, since you've hired them, have recommitted crimes in the community? Because when you hire convicted felons at a sheriff's department, at a law enforcement agency, I'm sorry, somebody cops a rap, somebody cops a charge of a felony, they kind of close the door to work at a law enforcement agency when you got a felony. But Derek Jackson wears it as a badge of courage. Do I believe that somebody's a returning citizen and we need to help that individual get jobs in the community?
What was his answer to the question?
What's
Did
that?
he answer the question?
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
And he never has.
Damn.
My point is this.
Shit.
As much as we talk about the humanization and things like this, it sounds wonderful. Oh, we hire convicted felons at the sheriff's department to show that we are helping returning citizens. Guess what? About 80% of the population looks and says, you what? So you mean the people that are helping on my case are convicted felons? Yeah.
Shit, they know the best. Dang, it's kind of fucked up, but they know the best.
What's that?
Like how you didn't know what dog food is. They know the best.
They know the best, but guess what? They kind of lost the right to work in a law enforcement agency when they committed felonies. Why do I say that?
And plus, it's hard
Because
for
it's
felons
the-
to get jobs. I'm coming from.
Well, I want felons to get jobs. I said in one forum, in one conversation, I also said, hey, my goal as sheriff, I'll come up with 30 felony-friendly employers within the first 30 days. Because I know a lot of people. in the trades, in the IT industry, things of that nature. But I want to make sure, and I do believe that we need to work on literacy projects within the jails, within the prisons, as well as in the high schools.
Damn,
Because
you said that shit?
I've said that, yeah, because I believe that literacy is one of the problems that's impacting the African
No, not
American.
that. I'm talking about the jobs for felons.
What's that?
The jobs for felons. That's some real nigga shit.
Well, if you can, if the felons have the literacy down, they can use that. Why not have them be able to teach kids on writing, as long as they're not sex offenders and off that list, that kind of thing. But my point is this: the majority of the members of the public look at the fact that you're hiring felons at the sheriff's department as to going like, what? And then the majority of law enforcement agencies around the country look and say, what? Because it's not a standard practice. And it's like, let me give you an analogy.
I'm telling you.
Let me give you an analogy. It's like the hospital saying, oh, you were a nurse before? Yeah, I was a nurse. Okay, why aren't you a nurse anymore? Well, I was caught stealing drugs from the patients, the cancer-causing painkillers, and I got caught and I did 3 years in prison. Okay, but you're applying to work here at the hospital? I'm sorry, you can't work here. I'm sorry, because the general public is going to look at, why are we employing this person that's already proved a propensity to commit a crime right here in the hospital? But we do wish you the best. We do hope that you can find a job. You could possibly sell real estate. You could possibly go back to school and
Let me
become a
ask you this.
librarian. I could give you a million examples, but you just can't work here.
I'm gonna ask you this though.
Sure.
I come from, like, I ain't gonna lie, my whole perspective, if you ain't noticed, my whole perspective of questions, I come from the perspective of everybody got felonies and they not hiring like at all. When you hear that, like, I'm not from the 80% that grew up with their mom and dad, and I grew up with mom.
I got
working,
it. I got it.
Felons everywhere. Like,
And I got it. And you know what? The sheriff should be a strong advocate to the community, saying, you want part of the crime prevention problem is to help returning citizens get jobs so they don't return back to a life of crime. I got it 100%.
so I'm just saying, for them people, that's like gold.
Yeah, no, and there's, like I said, 30 felony friendly hirees in the 30 days. I'll work on that, number one. And when I make a promise, I bust my ass to keep it. I don't sit there and say things that I'm not going to do or can't say that I will try 100%
Shit,
to
that
do.
made me want to win. I ain't gonna lie to you. That one lie, you said a lot of bullshit, but that one lie, you got me on that one. That one, okay.
Well, because,
That's just
well,
on
you
go,
said
you?
I say lots of bullshit. I don't say any bullshit. I only speak fact.
Oh,
Mario.
yeah. But that's not
I
good.
speak facts,
That's
and
not
my
good.
facts aren't attacks. My
Facts.
facts are facts, and I'm not going to apologize for who I am, because I know that there are a lot of people. I've been to the funerals of some of the black kids that have died here, and I didn't know them, but I didn't go there wearing a Magee for Sheriff shirt. I didn't go there and sat there and slap five with people while I'm walking through the procession like I witnessed one of my opponents do.
Mhm.
I'm not going to do that. I witnessed it. Why? Because the fuel and the passion for me to say there are too many kids getting gunned down. I went to the candlelight vigils for Dallas. I went to the funeral. I spoke to his mother. She had no clue that I was a sheriff's candidate. She just knew I was some white guy sitting there who cared about what was going on in the community. Never did I advertise it. Never did I talk about it. I didn't do any of that. But it was my concern for my fellow humanity.
Let me ask you this real quick.
Sure.
You're gonna be in politics. You're gonna be in the.
What's that?
Yeah, just remember. Like,
Yep, I got you.
right, that's that. And then let me ask you this real quick. ADHD pills in the black community, crazy as fuck. You got any, like, and I just want you as a person, how do you think we can fix that?
Are you saying things such as Adderall and ADHD, meaning attention deficit disorder drugs, kind of like the speed type of thing?
Yeah, do you know about the problem? Are you informed about the problem a little
Yeah.
bit?
Well, I know if you're talking about the drugs that, are you talking about people being prescribed the drugs or using the drugs illegally?
Okay, so this is what happens. Both, to be honest with you. So basically, like, even when I went to school,
Yeah.
like, they'll say something. It's really, to me, I think some of it is a cultural miscommunication, and some of it is actual ADHD, because a lot of mothers, they drink while they're in pregnancy. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Mhm.
It happens a lot. But it's like, when I went to school, they said, "Oh, he has ADHD and he talks so
No.
fast. Look how fast he talks." But they don't know I come from the South. Everybody in the black and the South. Hey, boy, go get that guy. Go get the hammer. Oh yeah, but
Okay.
no, we just have that boy. Go get that motherfucking goddamn. And you know what I'm saying?
You sounded Cuban there, but keep on going.
You understand what I'm saying? No?
Yeah, I got you.
Cuba, Alabama. So I'm dead serious. But you know what I said?
Okay, so ADHD, some people saying you got ADHD. What you were talking about earlier about the mothers drinking and things like that, that's also fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah.
That's something different. But fetal alcohol syndrome can lead to different symptoms dealing with parental use of drugs and things of that nature. So in regards to
And then let me actually just let
Sure.
me get to it real quick. So basically, they prescribe black boys ADHD pills way more, and then they get paid. The mothers get paid off of that. And I know so many kids our age right now in their 20s, 23s or something like that. They looking back on it as like, damn, she put me on them pills just to get paid. And then dang, she did this so we can get paid. And they really reflect on that. Like I can name 5 right now. Like they just told me that like in the last 2 months.
And how did it impact them when they were 23, 24 years old? They still need those pills and they're thinking, why did my mom have me do this? Or
3 of them can't remember anything. Like they have hard memory problems in
All right.
that stage.
Gotcha. Were you one of those kids?
No, I wasn't one. I'm telling you, they told my grandma that, and they was like, Mario, talk slow with them niggas. They don't understand how we talking. He said you gotta talk slow around white people because they don't understand because I don't pronounce every word, and then you gotta I can't talk like. Hey,
Well,
so what happened with the
Yeah,
Is that-
no. I mean, some people can understand you, some people can't. It's
It's a
like you go to New
cultural
York City,
miscommunication.
well, you could be white, you might not understand them too. It's we understand the languages better in our own communities,
Yeah.
and so and here's my response to what you just said. Okay, once again, as the sheriff, I understand.
As a sheriff.
No,
just as a
but
person.
I'm going to lead into it. As the sheriff, I understand staying in my lane.
Mhm.
Okay, and I understand what you're talking about because I study the drug culture. But that is part of the concept of drug prevention I've talked about: prevention, enforcement, treatment, education, recovery. To educate people that that's not the right thing. You might have a calling when you're not doing podcasts with ASHANTI. You might have a calling later on and say, you know what? I've experienced this so much, and it becomes your calling to sit there and say, I want to talk to my legislators, I want to talk to educators, and I want to talk to people about an advertising campaign to prevent this from happening. Because some of these young black men's or black men and women's minds are blank from their teenage years because their parents were getting paid to do this. The parents were taking an easy way out, utilizing their kids as guinea pigs. In essence, that's what's going on, right? They're experimenting on you and they're profiteering off of it. They may love you as a parent, but they might also not understand the implications as to what they're doing to their kid. So it becomes your calling, Marielle, in regards to saying, I'm going to start a movement here. Marielle's movement. What's my goal? What's my mission statement? My mission statement is to educate the majority of parents that are black, normally single mothers, as you described, normally single mothers, as to the dangers and drugs of problems with just automatically signing off saying my kid deserves ADHD medicine, needs ADHD medicine because it causes long-term effects and it harms the kid when he's in his 20s and he looks back and says, Mom, why'd you do this? And then you create community strife. So that's your passion. That's something you're asking me. And if a young person came up to me and as a sheriff, and I'd say, I don't know if there's much I can do about it, but it falls under the concept of what I look at as the whole 360 approach: prevention, enforcement, treatment, education, and recovery, the acronym of Peter. And that's exactly where prevention and education combined helps out. And I hope I've answered your question.
You answered it as a sheriff. Can you answer it as a person? Like just
It's the same. Well, yeah, no, it's the same answer because if you came from me, if you were one of my martial arts students and said, sir, I want to ask you a question. This happened to me or this happened to my best friend. What is your beliefs? And I said, you know what? It's not right. It's wrong.
And then I just told you one as the fast talking. I see it so much. Like it's miscommunication. They'll say something, even I think they said something for my little brother. And then I just looked at her like she was retarded. Cause that was my little brother. I couldn't really even speak for him. I was like, oh no, he's not slow. That's just how you talk. No, like, I just
No, I got it.
That's how we
You do talk fast, but you know what? There are other kids that talk real slow and things of that nature. But if the prescription,
not
because
even the fast talking, I'm talking about some completely different with a different. I'm saying it's a cultural, like band-aids are the color of skin. I think we talked about that once, and because we're black, like we don't understand that whole simple concept. It's like two different words, and I feel like it's a miscommunication between cultures. That's why I think it's being on right now.
well, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. And once again, The sheriff's not going to solve that problem, but as a man speaking to someone, a man who's 65, almost 66 years old, speaking to a 23-year-old young man who's obviously on top of things as you are, because you're studying it and you're listening to it, I would suggest saying, make it a movement. Because if you don't make it a movement, just like somebody else is going to talk to me someday about kids that are hungry in school. Sheriff's Department can't fix that, but guess what? I, as a person who's created numerous strategies to do all sorts of things in the community, can sit there and encourage and say, why don't you create a program? You know, like Mario's Munchies. You know, is there going to be snacks for kids in elementary school? So they're not. You know, studies show that kids have less learning capacity when they're hungry. And keep in mind, guys, you know, I'm not just some guy who was a cop. I'm an educated guy. I have my master's degree. I studied. I take continuing education. I study all facets of society. And so, although my expertise is law enforcement, I do pay close attention to a lot of things. Here's something you don't know about me. I study extensively the civil rights movement. I give speeches about the life of Dr. Martin Luther King to cops. And I'm the white guy talking about Dr. Martin Luther King and my philosophies on my interpretation of the way he was. And keep in mind, one of his most famous quotes is, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And I think that's what most cops feel too. Most cops, I'm not saying all cops, I'm saying most. Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. That was on my stationery for 15 years because I believe in that. But my point is, I study a lot of things. So I've learned a little bit from you today when you're talking about the ADH drugs.
Let me ask you
being
this.
prescribed to young African American kids. And it should be a concern. So my
Okay.
response as a cop, or my response as a human being, is about the exact same thing. I would be encouraging you to get involved in doing those things.
Let me ask you. I got
Sure.
2 more questions. No,
Sure.
All right. So you talk about 9/11, and I don't know. You talk very serious about Bush doing what he did after that. So then, I would actually just want to ask you, what's your 9/11 theory? Or like, what do you think happened? A lot of people got theories. A lot of people really don't know what that was about.
Sure.
A lot of people think we beat up the wrong people, and I just want to ask you. You seem like you're in it. So
Sure. Well, what I will tell you is this. I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories because there are a lot of them. There are a
just
lot
talk
of them.
about you would sound like you
Yeah.
were there. You don't got no
It's-
theory.
it's-
You know.
yeah.
You know.
No,
You
no.
know.
What I believe is I believe the terrorists hit a grand slam home run that day. They really did. They hit a grand slam home run in the first game of the World Series, and then the next,
And we got on their motherfucking ass.
and then we put a boot up their ass,
Yeah, okay.
basically. And here's what I think. I said, how did it happen? There was lack of communication amongst law enforcement agencies. Law enforcement's learned a lot. Intelligence has learned a lot. Yeah, I was in the middle of that. And I know that some of the communication in the intelligence communities didn't talk back and forth between law enforcement and intelligence. And that was a problem. I mean, you sit there and have a guy that's learning how to fly airplanes down in Florida, and his whole goal is to learn how to fly the plane but not land the plane. We got a problem there. Intelligence should be speaking to law enforcement about that. But I believe they hit a grand slam that day, and thousands of people died, and millions and billions of people were terrorized because of it. And so, with that, and that's the goal of a terrorist too, is not only to attack you, but it's to cause terror. So if I don't kill you, I still want terror in the hearts of hundreds of people that you know. And that's what happened that day. And so as a federal agent at the time, we were involved right after the 9/11 attacks in recruiting all of our informants throughout the country to see if they had any information about the terrorist attacks. And one of the people that worked for me reported to me and met with the informant and did have some information about the terrorist attacks and the movement of money and how they were moving money from one area to the other and sending money from Boston to Madrid and to Germany and a few other places right before the attacks. So that was kind of interesting to see that. And this is not a national secret now. This has come out. So I'm not speaking on anything that's going to violate protocol or top secret government secrets. And
They got top secrets. This shit is immaculate.
yeah, no, there are a lot of them. You sign a waiver at the end if things didn't on things you can't talk about. There are a lot of things I can't talk about, but all of them I learned from. My point is the things that you learn from, even the ones you can't talk about, all shape you as a professional law enforcement leader. You know, things you do, things you don't do, things that other people tried and they failed at. And then there's just certain things that always make good common sense. So 9/11, like I said, gosh, what the worst day in our lives.
Let me ask you this real quick. Rap music top three rappers.
Sugar Hill Gang. Oh gosh, what's the name of the dude? Parachute Pants.
MC Hammer.
MC Hammer, Hammer Time, Hammer Time. MC Hammer, Sugar Hill Gang. And I kind of look at the original Commodores doing a little bit of rap, like Brick House.
Commodores.
Yeah.
And then, what's the top three singers?
Top three singers?
Singers, any genre though, too.
Singers or groups?
Don't matter. Singers, they song in a group.
Oh gosh, top three singers. I like country music, and I also like I like Motown. So I'm gonna just go with groups. Temptations is one of my favorites. The Supremes is one of my favorites, and the Four Tops is one of my favorites. And that's that genre of music. When it comes to country, I like Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks is my number one guy.
Those last three names, not aware of. But I'm gonna have to look them up.
Which ones? Four Tops, the Supremes.
Four Tops, Brick House. Well, you're talking about Brick.
How
that one?
he's my tomate, just let it all hang out. Yeah, yeah. That was the Commodores with Lionel Richie before he became Lionel Richie.
You said something in the middle of
The Supremes, Four Tops, the Supremes, Motown group out of Detroit, women. Diana Ross, Diana Ross and the Supremes. Yeah, so
nigga, you stay here? Is this the Shanti Show?
Yeah.
Nigga, what's up with it?
Hey, folks out there in Ashanti Show land, you got to send this guy some information about the Supremes. I know you all know about Diana Ross. You got to send him some information about the Four Tops.
Am I in it?
Yeah, you in it.
Yeah, I'm in it. This is me being in it.
All right, so let's keep on going, guys.
I want to know about your educational history.
Bachelor's degree in criminal justice at Michigan State, master's degree. I graduated first in my class at Michigan State as a bachelor in my bachelor's degree with high honor. And then at the police academy, I was class president, graduated first in my class there. And I went to Michigan, University of Michigan Graduate School for a while and studied exercise physiology, but didn't finish up that program. So I also have taught classes at colleges and did that from a young age. And then there's always continuing education over the years. Been to John Hopkins Leadership School. I've been to a leadership school in Colorado. As a federal agent, there was no shortage of training. And so I had training all around the world. And I taught a lot of classes as well. So, but I got both my degrees from Michigan State for higher education and proud of my time there. You know, I had developed a lot of great mentors and that I follow a lot of their principles to this day.
So we talk about often just women being safe out in the streets and anxiety and just like presentation and things of that nature. I want to know advice you have for women or anyone like that may be suffering from just like, you know, being preyed upon.
Domestic violence, things of that nature.
Yeah.
Okay, well, street violence and domestic violence are two different things, but I'll start with domestic violence. There's a leader in our community. Her name is Nicole Beverly. I suggest you guys possibly interview her. She's a remarkable woman who is a domestic violence survivor. She wrote a book on her story as well as techniques and tactics and
dang, nah, that sounds like a police woman.
Well, she's
Police,
not.
We call.
She's
I
not.
ain't gonna lie, we call shit. You come here.
What do you call them?
We call this one girl a police bitch. I ain't gonna lie.
Well, she's not the police. As a matter of fact, she's a social worker. She lives here in Washington County.
Let me come
and
to the cookout. This
yeah,
is
well,
definition of a police bitch.
Yeah, but
police bitch. She
for
gonna
it.
tell you goddamn business to the goddamn word. Police bitch. She gonna put you on child support. Police bitch. She gonna call the police on you any chance she get. Police bitch. She gonna villainize the shit out of you like she wasn't the one fucking you after the relationship. Police bitch.
Well, Nicole's not a police bitch in your words. She's a remarkable woman that's probably saved a lot of lives with her tactics. This book, yeah, yeah. This book she wrote, they've turned into a movie as well. She lives right here. She's find her online, Nicole Beverly. But she had a horrible situation. Her husband was a cop and was abusing her. She met him in Eastern Michigan, abused her for years, and ultimately the guy's in prison now for the way what he did to her. Yeah, no, find her. She's remarkable. So my point is, domestic violence is a whole different type of violence as opposed to street violence. But I've given women self-defense courses frequently throughout my life as a martial artist, and I educate whoever wants to listen about different tactics and techniques to maintain their safety. For example, my daughter lives in South America. I lived in South America. She's in Bogota, Colombia. That's where she lives. And there's a lot of street crime there. And we talk about awareness. These kids, their phones are like this, walking down the street. They're going to get hit over the head by somebody or dragged in an alley, and something's going to happen to them. Or she has learned, and she won't do this. For example, somebody comes up in Colombia and asks you what time it is. You look at them when you answer the question. You don't look down at your watch, or you don't look at your phone. Why? Because what they might do is just throw a little bit of powder in your face. It's a drug they call, slang street name, Burundanga. And Burundanga is basically a drug called scopolamine, which turns you into a zombie with about 20 seconds. Wow. And so you learn about those things. It's put in candy sometimes. And, you leave a taxi driver says, oh, do you want a little bit of candy before you leave? You put the candy in your mouth. The taxi driver takes off. He comes back 20 minutes later, 20 seconds later, and kidnaps you because you're a zombie. You don't know what's going on. You're walking around. Yeah, so whatever. So my point is, lots of self-defense techniques. I do worry. Obviously, women on the street are preyed against more than men. However, men are victims of street violence as well. And I have a whole strategy about that too. I've created a policy path for combating gun violence in Washtenaw County, and it talks about domestic violence. It talks about street violence. It speaks about accidental shootings, and it speaks about suicides. So it's a concern. And when you take a look at the amount of people that are victims of domestic violence, people say, well, what do you think about guns? I say, hey, if you got a permit to carry a weapon, I'm all for it. Just follow the law. You want to own a weapon, responsible and legally, go for it. Make sure you're safe at home, though. Have gun locks if you got kids.
You know this shit better than me. Can you shoot somebody in the back?
What's that?
Can you shoot somebody in the back?
Can you shoot somebody in the back?
In this state?
It's a nuanced law. Can you?
Oh, we can do it. All right, cool. We go.
No, I mean, okay.
We good.
No, let me give you an example for the. No, it's not a good.
Could be running away.
They can, and by
That's how I be thinking. So
there's something called actions faster than reaction. Do I advise people to shoot somebody in the back? No, but let's just take your scenario, right? What if the guy had?
I'm trying to run away, get a high spot.
Okay, let's just, in the global level of things, just say the guy was a backpack bomber, and you knew the guy had a gun in it, got bomb in his backpack. Okay, or he's carrying one, and he's walking into a school, and you only got one chance to take him out. You might have to shoot him in the back. I'm not saying that I'm advocating police officers shoot people in the back, and make this really clear. You as a cop, you shoot somebody in the back, you got a lot of explaining to do. Right. And hopefully it's all on video and you can document as to why you did what you did. Maybe you see the guy shooting at you like that, or shooting like this, just pulling the trigger and going like this, and that happens. I know 2 different cops that have been killed where somebody just was shooting back like that while they were running. They got lucky. But police officers are in essence trained. You only shoot right when your life is in danger, not the second before and not the second after.
Curiosity question: how would you do? How would you deal with like a George Floyd or a Trayvon Martin or some of those black dudes how that got fucked up, unarmed?
Yeah, well, Trayvon Martin wasn't a cop.
No. I'm talking about period. I'm talking about as if
I think
black men, black women, they get fucked up multiple times and nothing happens.
Yeah,
right? And unarmed people get fucked up multiple times, nothing happened. If you
were for example,
how would you go after
Gotcha. That? So first off, it's hiring the right people. Okay. The most
I'm talking about the situation. If you're
I got it. Let me get to it.
The
most important decision that I make as a law enforcement leader is who I hire and who I promote. Number one. So who I hire is so important. Why? Because those are the individuals that are going to reflect your principles and what you want to do as a law enforcement leader, number one. And those are also the people you're training. So you don't have a situation like what occurred in Minnesota, where somebody's leaning on somebody's back and they can't breathe for 9 minutes. I got a problem with that, a serious problem with that. And I got no problem with the jail time that guy got. Maybe he should have gotten more, because nobody despises a bad cop more than who? A good cop. Because good cops want to do a good job and they can't stand bad cops. Okay, so what was his name? Was it Walter Smith? It was someone, I think Walter Scott shot in the back while he's running on a traffic warrant or some sort of warrant. What the hell is that cop thinking? Yeah, that's a complete abuse of privilege and something that I would hold somebody 100% accountable. They wouldn't be a cop working for me anymore, but I can tell you where they would be working: in the penitentiary. Right. And that's exactly where they belong. If you shot somebody in the back, an unarmed guy running from you, out there in ASHANTI land, it's bullshit. And good cops can't stand bad cops. And I'll be really clear about that. Right. And I'll hold my cops accountable. And hopefully I'm not going to hire any officers because of the screening process that subscribe to that belief. I mean, I want my cops to treat everybody the same.
So, my friend.
What's that?
$1 million. You flipping?
Are you talking to me or
yeah,
Dan?
you?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the question?
$1 million.
You flipping bad, like bad cop type?
No, not $2 million. I'm unbuyable.
Pablo Escobar, 50 million. Look,
let me tell you, Ashanti, remind me when I get home later on to send you a picture of me standing in front of $6 million on a table.
I said 50.
I don't care if you 6 million, 50 million, 100 million.
Okay, you such a problem. Look, we just want you to stay at home with your wife. Just take care of your daughter, man. We don't want your fucking we don't want you on our ass. We're gonna give you $1 billion. We're gonna make sure your daughter's safe and we're gonna make sure everything is all right. $1 billion. And he comes to you like this, like, okay.
Oh, wait a second. You said are you just saying, hey, here's a Powerball ticket, you want $1 billion? Or are you saying you want me to be corrupt and let you go?
I'm saying look the other way. Don't even start.
It's not going to happen.
Damn.
Not going to happen. And let me tell you, Ashanti, Marielle, I've arrested corrupt cops. Wow. You look up a guy. He was a Miami River cop, and his name's Armando Garcia. He was a crooked cop, and he was robbing drug dealers on boats in southern Florida, in the Miami area. And they would jump overboard, and they died. And he's stealing drugs and cash from these guys. He became an FBI top 10 fugitive. I caught that guy. And I got that guy working with the FBI. He was an FBI top 10 fugitive. I can't stand corrupt cops. I've arrested corrupt cops. And sometimes cops just need to be dismissed from the force because of their own problems. For example, I had a police officer who worked with me that I received information he had a cocaine problem.
Oh, I want to ask you this though, too.
And ultimately, how did I have it investigated? I turned it over to another law enforcement agency and said, I don't want to know anything until you're done with your investigation, because I didn't want to be ever accused of showing favoritism to somebody. They called me 3 weeks later and said, we just arrested him with 3 grams of cocaine. Okay. So you got a cop with cocaine as a cocaine addict. Do I feel bad for him as a human being that he suffers from an addiction? 100%. But guess what? He can't be a cop. You can't have cops with cocaine addicts. Yeah. No, you can't. So my point is, he was dismissed from the force. He came into me crying, saying, sir, I'll take a 6-month suspension. I'll get therapy. I'll get help. My mother won't talk to me anymore. I had almost tears in my eyes. I felt so bad for the guy. But there's a certain standard that we set. And when it comes to corruption and taking money, I know of very few cops that have been arrested for corruption or federal agents. But the ones I do know, guess who arrested them? Fellow federal agents. All right. And there are so many checks and balances, and we go through such an extensive background investigation that if we're prone to being corrupt, you're not going to get on the force, or in my situation as a federal agent. The backgrounds for federal agents, polygraphs, all this stuff. I mean, the list goes on and on and on for all your top secret clearance. And yeah, they're top secret, just like you were talking about in the movies and when you were going, damn, this shit, yeah, top secret stuff. That's exactly what it is, because you have to be the cream of the crop and you have to be uncorruptible. And the day somebody goes bad, most good cops want those guys to go to prison for a long time. And that's what I'm saying. So $1 million? Nah.
Billion.
No.
What
I
are
said billion.
No.
Daughter set up. Wifey set
No.
up. Whenever
Ain't gonna
everybody
happen.
cool.
Are there any more?
It's not gonna happen.
You don't gotta do nothing. You just gotta do nothing.
Are there any more?
You just gotta do nothing.
anything you feel as though would help? Like the police system. Any more like thing can be set in place to have like police more certified, like more like solid coming in?
Continuing education is extremely important for cops. Number one. Number two is an extensive background where you learn everything about it. When the background investigators do the entire background, when I sit down and speak to the prospective employee that I'm going to interview or hire, I've interviewed and I've hired numerous law enforcement officials.
Mhm.
Hundreds of them, as a matter of fact. Something my opponents have never done. They've never led a recruitment effort to hire people or been involved in the process. But a lot of times what I sit back and I do is this. I say, tell me about yourself.
Mhm.
I said, I already know that you worked here, you went to school here, you lived here, you did this, and that. But I want to know about you as a person.
Yeah.
So what do you do in your spare time? Well, my wife and I, we love going to the movies. Oh, really? What kind of movies do you like to watch? Oh, she loves love stories and I love mysteries. And okay, well, tell me about your kids. Well, I'm a volunteer Little League coach, and I don't get a lot of time to coach though these days because my mother's sick and I'm trying to take care of my mother. I'm looking at the person. What are you doing as a person to make the world a better place?
For sure.
It could be your own little world, taking care of your mom, God bless you. Or it could be Marielle starting a program dealing with ADHD and the abuse of it.
This nigga not gonna let me live.
Yeah. No, I'm not telling you make that commitment. Not telling you make that commitment. We're not giving you $1 million. We're not giving you $1 billion. We're giving you the idea of planting the seed that you can make a difference. When you interview people, hopefully you learn from them. And hopefully one day this aspiring podcast will take you and ASHANTI to global levels. But when you reach those global levels, what can you do? I've reached the highest heights of law enforcement you can reach. I don't need to get any better or do anything to say, oh, look, I've done this, I've done that. No, my whole goal now is to help young people.
Really, out of some real shit. Why? What the fuck? Like, nigga, like you older too. Why? I want to know why. Like, really?
Because I love leading law enforcement agencies. I love making a difference. My mother died a few years ago at the age of almost 93. And she worked. Yeah, no, she was a wonderful woman. And I was blessed to be there when she was gone. Made it by 4 hours. But she taught me till the day she died. She helped people. She was a social justice warrior. I used to tease people and say I had a drug problem when I was a kid. They said, you did? And I said, yeah, my mom. What do you mean your mom? She drugged me to church. She drugged me to school. She drugged me to Michigan football games. She drugged me everywhere. She was involved and she was engaged in my life. And that's my point. But she also taught me, my mother was involved working with the NAACP, with BAM. You don't know what BAM is. BAM is the Black Action Movement. It was a movement on the campuses in the 70s and 80s at the University of Michigan. She was involved with HASTA, H-A-S-T-A, which is a Hispanic organization. So my mother was a social justice warrior that helped so many people. And that wears off on you.
So you just never want to stop helping people?
Yeah, exactly. We can always help people to the day we die. And you could be I can be laying in my deathbed, speaking to a 19-year-old that saw one of my TikTok shows 20 years ago. This is 20 years from now. I could be laying in my bed. He said, I saw this thing. And you said that you would talk to anybody about advice about becoming a federal agent or get involved in law enforcement. I will give that advice. I will help them. I will work with them. I will mentor them. I will help them create ideas. I brainstorm with people all the time. I love people. I have a passion for making our community safer. It's not just the adrenaline of jumping out of a helicopter, rappelling into the jungles and blowing up a cocaine laboratory. That was cool. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do that now. I want to help others reach to that level that they can become members of the department, or they can become ultimately members of a SWAT team or a detective unit or the sexual assault unit, whatever the case may be. Have them grow and grow and grow as human beings. Yes, sir.
I'm putting some shit together. Hold up. Sound the fuck. You killed a lot of niggas. Hold up.
What's that?
FBI did a lot of fucked up shit. What you got to do to say about the FBI doing a lot of all that fucked up shit?
Well, I was a DEA agent. I wasn't an FBI agent.
I feel like them 3-letter niggas be all fucking each other the same way. They rock with each other heavy. They all cousins.
Well, let me be real respectful for you. When you're 23 years old and you watched some of the TV shows and you listen to some of the podcasts and you haven't lived the life, you might think that.
They got the
But the
paperwork.
way you learn about it is asking guys like me. This is part of my mentoring towards you and education towards you. We are vastly different. DEA targets drugs, works undercover, works the street. FBI does different types of investigations. Do they work drugs? Yeah.
Let me just.
We're more of a, you know, the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell, the thing about grit. You know about that grit where you're kind of blue collar, or you're blue collar. You're working the streets. You're working hard. That's the way the DEA guys are.
Let me ask
The
you
FBI
this,
is a little bit more polished and their shoes are shined.
Let's just go through a range and just tell me if you had
Sure.
anything to do with it, or like if your like
Sure.
organization has something to do with it. All right. Martin Luther King died. None about it.
What about him?
Martin Luther King died.
What about
I'm
him?
just asking, like, what's your these 3-letter, like, I don't know. These
They
three
say
letter.
the FBI killed Martin Luther
The
King.
FBI.
I think James Earl Ray killed Martin Luther King.
Okay, cool.
But let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
How old was Martin Luther King when he died?
35, 30, 35,
How old do you
36.
think?
36, 35.
He was 39. Keep on going.
All right, cool. All right, Malcolm X.
Haven't studied how he was killed that much. So,
FBI. All right, and then it was the crack. Crack, that had nothing to do. That was just CIA.
what's that? Oh, the crack epidemic?
Yeah, that was just CIA.
I've heard the conspiracy theories about the CIA being involved in it.
That's such
And
facts.
invading LA with the crack cocaine epidemic. I see some of the beliefs of it.
Damn.
What do I think about it? I think the DEA wasn't part of it. I don't think the DEA guys would sit there and say, yeah, we're going to allow you, because DEA guys love taking kilograms of cocaine off the street. I mean, that's how we got our rushes. That's how we got our bonuses. That's how we got paid, is taking drugs off the street. That's how we got our awards. Did I tell you I was the undercover agent on the largest drug deal in the history of Michigan?
No.
I convinced the Colombians while I was working undercover. I was living in Ypsilanti Township, and they delivered me almost 600 kilograms of cocaine. That's 1,200 pounds almost of cocaine. They flew a DC-6 cargo jet from Colombia to an airport just south of Detroit in Gibraltar called Downriver. And guess what day it happened?
When?
What day?
We were talking about it earlier. Boom, boom.
The
Boom, boom.
September the
3rd
3rd.
of September.
September
The 3rd
the 3rd.
of, it was the 3rd of September.
Tight.
The day I'll always remember. Because that was the day the Colombians delivered me almost over 1,000 pounds of cocaine.
This nigga wild.
But my point is,
This nigga wild. This nigga wild.
and it's all documented. And that's the thing about my career, you guys. And that's the thing about running for politics. And this is what I'm finding in politics. When you interview people and they sit there and say, fact check, guess what? You can fact check everything. And if you can't find the information, you come over to my house and you knock on the door.
I'm gonna tell
and
you
I'll
when
show
I'm
you.
clipping this up. I need the documents.
But we'll set up a few hours because I have binders that thick, dozens of them, with police reports, awards, honor certificates, videotapes, photographs, you name it, that document everything I said, from President Obama to working undercover, the largest drug deal, to capturing the FBI top 10 fugitive, to being on the Pablo Escobar search team. I'm going to show you the certificate I got for Escobar. That's on the phone. But my point is, when you deal with politicians, Mariel, and I hate calling myself a politician because politicians lie and embellish. Cops don't. Real cops say, this is the truth. This is what I've done. You want to know why? Because true cops understand that when you embellish about your career, people look at you as a joke.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. My dad always told me this. He said, Mario, there's 3 people you never fucking lied to in your life. He said, he included himself. I'm an exit with him out. He said, 3 people you never lied to. It's your doctor. Because motherfucker, if you fuck the wrong bitch, you gotta tell him. He gonna help you. Your lawyer, he can help you. He gotta know if you did it or not, whatever, what hide shit.
And yourself.
Police
or the police.
officer. He said, because nigga, they can look it up, and then once you lie to them, that's like immediately jail time. Once they figure out that shit is a lie, they can do anything they want with you. So then,
well, I'd like to add a 4th one to it, Mario. Never lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
Because when you sit there and tell the community the lies, you start to believe your own lies. It's bullshit. And so that's why when I look at this election and I say my opponents embellish their credentials, I mean it. And I can prove that they embellish their credentials. I wish I could focus totally on me, my platform, and my ideas. But in this day and age, with the way the media, the newspaper media has disappeared, people can just say things. I could sit there and tell you, you know what? Hey, you asked me about Bill Clinton or Barack Obama. Did I tell you about the time that I had dinner with Bill Clinton? Did I ever tell you that, Marielle?
I feel like this is BS.
No, because I didn't. I didn't. And I'm not going to make it up that I did. I never did. But I did have a conversation with Barack Obama. And I sat there and shook his hand. And my
What y'all talk about?
we talked basically about Michigan football.
Oh.
Yeah, that's basically. I said, thanks a lot for being here. And then a second later, as I started to walk away, I said, one last thing, Mr. President. He goes, what's that? And I tapped him on the shoulder like that. And I said, go blue. And he goes, you got that right.
You got that right.
That's exactly how he said it. Does that sound like Ashanti? You got that right.
That sound like Barack.
That's exactly what he said. So that's exactly how he said, you got that right. And so my point is, you talk about what your dad's advice is very good, by the way. And I just throw the fourth one in there. Never lie to yourself, because if you start to believe your own lies, you're bound to be a failure. So my point is embellishment of people that enter politics. That's why I hate calling myself a politician. I say I'm a law enforcement official, because I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be straight with you. Just like I say, I'm a compassionate guy, but certain people are bad people. They need to go away. And I've heard some people say on this campaign trail, you're never as bad a human being as you are as your worst day. You follow me? And I say that's bullshit, because there are some people that are really bad people. They really are. They molest children. Okay. So are you telling me you're a better person than the guy that raped that 2-year-old girl? You've had worse days. You're not that bad.
Ken,
I say, yeah,
this is what I
sometimes
think,
you
though.
got to be locked up.
I don't think majority, like USA, like you seem like a global nigga, like no hoe shit. Like your daughter's everywhere, like you been everywhere. Like I feel like you're a global dude, but I feel like in America, I feel like what's the percentage do you think that people are actually evil, bad, and shit like that? And,
Not very many.
Or misunderstood. That's what I'm trying to
Not very many.
So I feel like that shit is blowing out the window, because I feel like that's why the one thing I do entice people to meet the politicians is because you're seeing me right now. You're seeing me like this. Now, if you see me as a police officer and then I'm over there fighting with a dude struggling, you're gonna be like, oh, Mario isn't violent. No, you're gonna see that a whole different light. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. No, you're right. I
You're
am
gonna be like,
global.
oh, that's a bad day for him. You're not gonna be like, oh, that's regular. You understand?
No,
what I'm saying?
I got you. I got you. But what I'm saying is that there are some really bad people out there,
But that's minority. And I don't even want to talk about
I don't disagree with you. But guess what, Marielle? It's the minority. You're exactly right. But it's the people that I will have to deal with, because that minority is what is harming the majority. Okay? And so when I see the person fighting on the playground or whatever, when I see the person fighting on the playground, I got it. It could be just he's having a bad day, you know, and I don't want to make his day any worse. So let's de-escalate the situation. I got it. 90% of the people you're going to come in touch with are good people, you know, and they've had a bad day or whatever. But when you make the blanket statement that I don't believe that anyone is capable of being the worst day, when I have seen the worst of the worst, and they are out there, and you want a leader in law enforcement, somebody who has seen everything, the worst of the worst, and the worst of the best, and the best of the best. And so when I look out at the folks in ASHANTI land, I want them to understand that. I want them to understand that
every time you say that, I want to laugh.
Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, because you told me you got a lot of followers and out there, and that our law enforcement leaders, we understand that the majority of people are good people that make bad mistakes when they come in touch with us. But we also understand there's some people that are really bad guys, or bad guys or women that need to be locked up. So you talked about the minority. That's a minority. And guess what? There's another minority out there, and that's the bad cops. Because 99% of the cops are good people. Yeah. But there's 1%. There's 1% that aren't.
Well,
I'm not gonna
you're a
lie.
police officer, so I guess you would know.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. There's guys that are borderline saying, man, that guy should have never been a cop. And we're just waiting for that. It's going to explode. Something's going to happen. Something's going to
I
happen.
wanna know
And
this
you
stuff.
pray it doesn't. But good leadership takes care of that. They either provide the training or they provide an exit strategy. And the exit strategy is you're fired because of A, B, C, and D. You document as to why they shouldn't be a cop. So the minority of people, very small minority, are really bad people, but it's that small minority of people that you should be concerned about. And everybody out there should be concerned about. I don't know if you got a car now, but is your car locked up outside?
No.
Okay.
It will be if it didn't have a
Yeah. Do you lock your door when you leave?
I said the truck.
You lock your door when you leave?
Truck, yes, we like the fucking.
Yeah. The truck right out front? The truck right out front with the rear left tire flat? With the hatch open with all the stuff sticking out of it? That's your car. Okay. It's a truck right out there.
Oh.
Right out front. But let me tell you, do you lock your door? Do you lock your door when you're walking out?
Yeah, right.
Why? Because you're worried about that small minority people taking advantage of you. Now, some of those people may not be bad people. They're just making bad decisions. But what about that guy that breaks into that house at 3:00 in the morning and takes advantage of that young lady you were asking me about earlier in regards to domestic violence or some sort of street violence? You know, that guy that breaks into houses and is serial rapist. They're out there, dude. They're out there. And we can't sit there and ignore the fact. And it doesn't mean that it's a global attack on any minority, because a serial rapist could be white, black, or Hispanic or Asian. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My concern as a law enforcement leader is to stop the conversation.
Damn, you be saying scary shit. Serial rapist? Y'all
Well-
niggas that down? Damn. Shit.
Well, I caught those too, you know, and in regards to when I was a patrolman, there was a guy that was a rapist and we caught him. But it's out there. And so, hey,
talking to y'all niggas that got experience and shit like that, y'all be scaring the fuck out of me.
well, here's the deal.
Y'all be having horror stories. I'll be like, shit.
But it
You be
what-
thinking I'm scared. They be saying dark shit so lightly. I'm
yeah,
like,
it's not fear mongering. It's just explaining to the world that when you got a law enforcement leader who's seen so much, he's going to prepare for so much, and to make sure, hopefully, it doesn't happen to you. But if it does happen, you want him to be prepared. You want the leader in charge to sit there and say, I will do A, B, C, and D, and E to take care of this. And I will stick up for the victims every single time before I stick up for the person that victimized somebody. Because right off the bat, it's the victims that law enforcement should have the number one priority of. I'm sorry, but why don't we have a program at the sheriff's department that hires victims? Where's that program? Okay.
nah.
First, I'll say
Where's that program? My point is, think differently. If somebody says, yeah, we're going to hire felons, and I say, well, why aren't we hiring victims? Why aren't we hiring that girl, giving her a job that was traumatized because her home was broken into in the middle of the night and she was raped at night point?
Yeah.
Why aren't we hiring her?
What you say?
I would say like better is better. That's what I would tell like my family and anybody I come in contact to. Better is better. So if people choose to live a better life, if people believe or have that option to choose a better life, or have the right influences around them to instill in them that there is a better life, and they would choose that life. That's always what I say. Because like simply like shoot, I heard people at the end of the day, and like it's a cycle. It's an endless cycle that really needs to be ended, and it's ended by people seeking betterment, seeking better choices. As to say, like obviously, I actually people are born babies; they don't really know anything about the world. So it's hard for me to say that baby was thought to be like, oh yeah, when I'm older, I'm gonna be like a serial rapist.
Sure. So let me respond to that real quick, because
You got more questions? I feel like I've been running.
let me respond to that real quick. But hang on one second, because remember I said I was
Yeah,
meeting my
it's
wife
good.
at
That's what I was
1:30. It's 1:35.
Wow.
So she's wanting to meet me at 1:30, and we're sitting here still in the chair. Hey, babe. I'm still with these gentlemen in the podcast.
This nigga did everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Yo, I was laughing at Ken McGee.
Yeah. I will call you the second I get out of here.
does.
Let's plan on me being here for about 30 more minutes. And yep. And I will call you the second I'm done and everything's going fine. Okay. We're having some good, engaging conversation. I love you, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye. That was the most beautiful woman in the world.
Shout out.
All right.
Shout
So,
out.
so yeah, you're right. You know, somehow, how do you stop the cycle? Well, guess what? You can stop the cycle by doing several things. Number one is, like I said, when we talk about the cycle of drug addictions and substance use disorders, like I said, taking part of the jail and turn it into a substance abuse recovery unit. I don't see my opponents talking about that. I don't see my opponents talking about taking drug dealers off the street. I don't see my opponents talking about taking guns off the street. And when we talk about, well, we have a buyback program where people bring guns in and we give them a gift card to Myers or to a coffee shop for $25. You think that really works? Do you think the guys that are carrying guns illegal are going to sit there and go to a gun
Hell
back
yeah,
program?
I'm finna rob a nigga with this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I
You
can
think
give
that,
it in.
yeah, no, here's my gun. I'm going to give you, can I have my $25 Starbucks card?
Cause I was finna rob a nigga for this shit.
Yeah.
I was finna rob a nigga with this gun. If they finna give me money for the gun,